Lecture 1, Econ 2300, Introduction to Statistics, Fall 2020. What's statistics? Statistics is the science of data. This involves collecting, classifying, summarizing, analyzing, presenting, and interpreting numerical information. The study of statistics involves math and relies upon calculations of numbers, but it also relies heavily on how the numbers are chosen and how the statistics are interpreted. Why do we study statistics? First, numerical information is everywhere. Data is everywhere. We want to do something with that data, create something meaningful to understand the world around us. Statistics isn't just about data analysis or numbers, it's about understanding the world around us. And if you want to understand the numbers behind the news, there's a good reason to study some statistics to make better judgments, and overall to make better decisions on an individual level and a social level as well. There's two branches of statistics that we'll consider in our course. We'll start off with Descriptive Statistics, which utilizes numerical and graphical methods to look at the patterns in a data set, to summarize the information and present it in a convenient way. They pretty much exist to simplify complex realities, which is why we need to fully understand them in order to be able to decipher them and not make too many mistakes in our interpretation. The second branch is Inferential Statistics. This utilizes sample data to make estimates, decisions, predictions, or generalizations about a larger set of data. We make inferences by doing hypothesis testing, determining relationships, and making predictions. We use data from the known world to make inferences about the unknown world. This is an image that shows you some raw data, and I'll show you in a second some actual descriptive statistics. I took this from my own research. You can see here we're looking at data from Argentina and their gross domestic product. And you can see it's a jumble of numbers, right? I took actually the less populated component of my list. Now this is what the data looks like in terms of a descriptive statistic. You can see it's organized. We can see exactly what's happening. For example, we can see that in 2009, Argentina's GDP fell by 5.92%, and in 2010, it went up by 10.13%. Okay, so you can see a big distinction between going from raw data to descriptive statistics. Descriptive versus inferential statistics. So like we said earlier, the descriptive statistics are basically used to describe, organize, and summarize the data about an entire population. So for example, we can say satisfaction of customers. It says 90% of customers are satisfied. Now going to the inferential version, we'll use our sample, particularly we'll want an unbiased sample, and based on 50 customers in this case, finding that we have a 90% satisfaction rate. If those customers were randomly selected and unbiased, then we can generalize that to mean that in the general population, 90% of customers like our product or are satisfied by our product. Inferential statistics. Let's understand where a sample comes from. A sample is a subset of the population. So basically, everything that is selected, in this case the 6 cars, have been selected very specifically from the sample at large. Now these were hopefully chosen at random and in an unbiased way in order to ensure that our statistics are not biased. Some definitions. So a population is a collection of all possible individuals, objects, or measurements of interest. Examples, all workers in the US, all registered voters in California. We are typically interested in making inferences about the population, and except in trivial cases, populations are too large to measure. Instead, we want to collect a sample from the population of interest. A sample is a portion or subset of the population of interest. Why do we take samples instead of studying every member of the population? Well, first, it's very expensive to study every single member of a population. Let's think about this example. In order to test a car to make sure that it's safe, right, what do? Well, in fact, we actually test a very small number of cars, and in that test, remember, we have to crash these cars in order to make sure that they are safe. So it's very destructive. So if we tested every single car, we'd have no cars to drive. And third, it may not be possible to test or inspect all members of the population, and therefore we'll rely on a sample. Later on, when we get to Chapter 8, when we're talking about how samples are created, we'll talk in detail about how a sample is entirely sufficient in order to make generalizations about the population. Okay, what is a variable? A variable is any characteristic, number, or quantity that can be measured, counted, and changes over time. Some examples: age, business profit, country of birth, inflation rates, class grades, eye color. Let's take these variables and put them into different categories. So there's two types of variables that we'll be looking at in this course: quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative data is numerical, and qualitative data is categorical. The numerical data can be further broken down into two categories, namely discrete data and continuous data. We'll look at examples of discrete and continuous data in the next two slides. First, in distinguishing quantitative versus qualitative data, we'll have a look at this. So quantitative data is numerical. So examples: weight of sumo wrestlers, age of Olympians, money in a 401k plan, temperature of coffee, say 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Qualitatively, right, it's things like happiness ratings, gender, eye color. And if we went back to our temperature example, it would be like a description of the temperature, something like saying very hot. So quantitative data are made up of instruments such as rulers, balances, graduated cylinders, beakers, thermometers, and the results are measurable. Qualitative data tends to use our senses. Let's have a look at this bookshelf. What are some quantitative data from this bookshelf? Well, we can look at the height, the weight, how many books are stored, how many shelves, how many cabinets, and the price. What are some qualitative examples? One thing I can think of is that it's brown. We can say that it's tall, for example, or short, depending on how we see 3 feet height of a bookcase, etc. Distinguishing discrete versus continuous data. So discrete data can only take a certain individual value, or is in the form of what we call counts. Things such as the number of pages in a book, the number of people in a room, the number of desks in a room, the number of computers in your office, etc. And continuous data can take on any value in a certain range. For example, the length of a movie is a continuous variable. Temperature is a continuous variable. Time taken to run a mile is a continuous variable. Let's look into more detail about the scales of measurement. So there's 4 scales of measurement of interest for our course. The first is nominal, second is ordinal, third is interval, and fourth is ratio. Based on the measurement scale, there's different ways of showing the descriptive statistics for those different data. Nominal scale. Nominal scales are used for labeling variables without any quantitative value. So think of it this way. Nominal can simply call name and or label. So here you can see country of origin would be a nominal level data. The jersey numbers on these different jerseys would be another nominal level data. Eye color would be nominal as well. Second is our ordinal scale. The ordinal scale establishes an order for our observations. So let's have a look here. Here we could see a hotness scale for peppers. So notice between hot and hotter, the gap between the two levels is very small. But when we go from hotter to hottest, the gap is very, very large. And this explains a little bit of the shortcoming in the ordinal scale, as the gap between observations is not important and is not clear. So we can think of these things like non-numeric concepts like satisfaction, happiness, levels of discomfort, etc. Another example would be like the winning circle in the Olympics, first, second, and third. So let's imagine that the first place runner ran a mile in 5 minutes, the second place runner ran the mile in 6 minutes, and the third place runner ran the mile in 10 minutes. Right? Does it matter if the gap here is much larger than the gap between first and second place? It doesn't actually matter, because all we're done is we've ranked them in a certain order: first, second, and third place. The interval level scale adds meaningful information about the space in between the different variables. So good examples of the interval scale are temperature, Celsius or Fahrenheit, and time is another clear distinction. Temperature can be easily measured and is therefore also a quantitative variable as well. And finally, we have our ratio scale. The ratio scale tells us about the order. They tell us exact value between units, and they also have an absolute 0 point, which allows for a wide range of both descriptive and inferential statistics. So these variables can be added, subtracted, multiplied, divided, etc. And you can see examples of this would be like how fast you're going in your car, right? The miles per hour. Think about it. What's 0 miles per hour? It means the car is not moving, right? Anything above that, that means the car is moving at a certain measurable speed. Another is income or profits, right? If you have $0 in the bank, you have no money, right? And therefore, money is easily added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided in a meaningful way. We have qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative are categorical, quantitative numerical. Nominal and ordinal data are qualitative. Interval and ratio data are quantitative. This is just a summary of the levels of measurement. End of lecture 1.